Super Mario Kart. This is the game that started it all. Back then, this game was a novel new concept instead of the cultural phenomenon we know it as today. I mean, there's people who only know who Mario is because of Mario Kart. Like, that's his reason for existing. They're not really familiar with his more traditional games. So, should you still care about the original game on Super Nintendo, or have the numerous sequels made this game obsolete? Well, it depends who you ask, but if you're somebody who appreciates retro games, then I think the answer is yes. You see, with this game's age comes a lot of the benefits of older games. The main thing is that this game will give you a fair amount of challenge. You really need to be a skilled racer in this game, and you can't rely on the items as much. I mean, I understand why the series shifted to have more of a focus on the items. They are a defining feature of the game that makes it different than a regular racing game, and really helped make the series stand out and develop a more mainstream audience. But that's not to say that the items are irrelevant in Super Mario Kart. You need to be able to drive well in combination with using your items in a more skillful manner. You can't just fall way behind and rely on the items to bail you out. In Mario Kart 64, I actually have a younger cousin who used to intentionally fall behind just so he could get the better items and screw me over with them. That turd. Okay. So this game has an item called the feather that was basically replaced by the blue shell later on. Yeah, that's right, that gosh damn blue shell where all you gotta do is fire it off aimlessly and it would go take out the current leader and any other poor suckers who can't get out of its way. Well, the feather requires a bit more skill and doesn't screw over anybody else directly. You see, with the feather, it's all about finding a spot where you can jump over the part of the map to take a shortcut. It's kind of like trying to create your own shortcut, and requires some timing and precision to pull it off. Okay, now let's talk about sliding. Sliding to save time on turns has always been an important part of the Mario Kart games, and it's no different here. One of the key differences, however, is that you cannot get a boost from sliding in this game. That was added into the later games. The sliding is still a game changer, however, and mastering it is a skill you'll need, especially for the harder difficulties. It's possible to swing yourself in front of a cluster of other racers just from a single well-executed slide. The other thing that's important in this game is the coins. The coins allow you to go faster, which you can imagine how that would be helpful in a racing game. They did eventually add coins into later games, but for a long time this was a unique characteristic of the original, and people seem to agree that the coins make it a better game with more depth. The characters that you choose from in the game are an important aspect as well, because they all have different strengths and weaknesses. Some have faster acceleration, better control, or a higher top speed. This affects the strategy you'll have for racing a specific course. Besides being important for practical purposes, the selection of characters was actually very novel at the time. Nowadays, we're used to being able to play as all sorts of different Mario characters in a variety of scenarios. But back then, this was fairly groundbreaking. This was some very important groundwork for everything that came after, whether it be Mario Party, the Mario sports games, or even Super Smash Bros. Itself. People just seem to like it when you mix a bunch of characters together in the same game. It was also a breakaway from Mario being used in his traditional role as the main character in a platformer. You were finally able to play as Mario in a different role, and it really showed Nintendo that the Mario franchise could be expanded upon in big ways. What I'm trying to say is, this game is important. This game was also significant on a more technical level at the time. The game made great use of Mode 7, which was a technique that allowed the background to be rotated and scaled. This may look somewhat primitive now, but it was a big deal at the time, and I think it was implemented well enough that the gameplay still holds up. Also, how can I forget to mention the battle mode? For some people, the battle mode is an even bigger deal than the racing. A lot of friendships were tested over this mode. There's nothing quite like hunting down your buddy with a red shell at your disposal. There's just a lot of crazy and funny stuff that happens in multiplayer, regardless of the mode. So let everybody know in the comments your favorite Mario Kart memory. Come on, everybody's got a good memory of screwing somebody over.